BBC Radio Berkshire looking forward to the Hennessy Festival at Newbury, which begins tomorrow. 5 months ago, I was in my top hat, my tails at Royal Ascot, but the fashion this weekend will be different. The ladies always feel the cold. Rachel Drew, milliner from Overton, on the line. Who wants to be a milliner? I do. Rachel, what are the ladies going to wear when it's cold? We see them queuing outside clubs, and they don't take their coats these days. They wear nothing. Do they do that at the races as well?
Obviously, you always get a few going along to Aintree, scantily clad, but I think for a full day at the races, Mike, you really need to be thinking warm and getting wrapped up. You haven't got a cosy club to go into. You want to be outside seeing the action, so you need to get some layers on those bones.
But what is it for the ladies? Is it the fashion? We know at Ascot it is, but as it gets to this time of year, ladies do tend to feel the cold a little bit, and those high heels. There are grids, there are gratings, there are surfaces that aren't good, but still they totter.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, if you really want to keep the heat in, like, a hat is what you need. And so think warm, something in a nice fur felt. Can look quite sharp in a sort of trilby or fedora shape, perhaps with some feathers to jazz it up a bit. There's a bit more of a casual style with the jumps versus somewhere like Ascot in the summer, of course. But that doesn't mean that you haven't still got the opportunity to have a bit of fun with your fashion.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I think the ladies you can look elegant still, as you say. Hats are good. You can get some lovely gloves, the lovely scarves, so you can look good in autumnal clothes.
Oh, absolutely. Winter dressing is more in the details, so perhaps instead of having a sort of showy floral print or something, you're looking at, in sort of perhaps more tailored shapes, and the details, like you say, the gloves, the hat, the scarf, what you've got on your feet. There are some great trends around for autumn, winter this year that you can really incorporate into an outfit for the races, such as leather's really big this year. So, perhaps you don't want to go with a full leather coat, but you might find, a really nice leather belt to put over your coat, or there's a lot of leather you'll see on trims, so on cuffs, on lapels, things like that. Ways to incorporate these things into your outfit.
Okay, the other night, a couple of nights ago, I went to the Royal Variety Show, and I think it was John Bishop who said, any era 100 years ago, the men would have still worn what they're wearing tonight, but it's the ladies' fashions what change. And he was quite right as well. Absolutely. You could have put the men there 100, 70, 50 years ago, and we're all there in the old soup and fish, the old black tie, looking the same. And I guess the same, in a way, applies to the races. If you look at men, paintings, photographs from way back when, the guys look much the same. The women's fashions change considerably.
I think that's true to an extent. Obviously, with the jump racing, you see a lot of tweed out, and a lot of the gentlemen who'll be passing through the gates at Newbury, may even be wearing tweed that is 100 years old. And that is testament, to the quality and heritage. I mean, after all, it is this year Hennessy's Heritage Festival. So come on, let's celebrate, what that's all about. Tweed looks great. I think for guys, perhaps there's less pressure to look current, as it were, but there are certainly still ways to think about what you're putting on yourself. Again, for this season, there are some really nice checks coming through for guys. So, I mean, moving away from the tweed, there's some really nice kind of Prince of Wales, sort of with the whole 60s revival thing going on. And something like that can look classic, but it's just a way to reference what's going on in the fashion world without perhaps going overboard.
I think a lot of men that go, especially those that belong to the racing world, wear their comfortable clothes. Their, the old patched elbows and stuff like that. I think men, in a way, maybe for Ascot, but for, National Hunt stuff, jumps up, people tend to go in that weather. They tend to go to make themselves comfortable. They wear comfortable clothes. It's not so much a fashion parade for the men, is it?
I tend to disagree. I mean, I was there last year at the festival, Mike, and there were some pretty sharp-looking gentlemen out on the track, I would say.
Yeah, but what about their clothes?
Yeah. They were, there were some really beautifully cut coats and suits, and I think just because you're a guy, it's not an excuse to turn up, in your holiest jumper. And anyway, I must mention, Mike, that this year, of course, Newbury have introduced a new dress code. So if you're in the Premier or Grandstand enclosure, you need to just take note of what's required. Namely, for the gentlemen, if you're in the Premier enclosure, you need to be in a collared shirt and at least suit trousers or chinos.
Yeah.
And they'd like you to be wearing a suit jacket or blazer as well. So just beware.
Okay, and what about hats for the men? And we know when we look at old photographs of men at the races or men at football years ago, everybody wore a hat. Now there are fewer hats. I mean, are hats de rigueur for the Hennessy?
Oh, definitely. You'll see a lot of hats out. Yeah, again, quite classic styles, but nonetheless it adds an air of distinction, I think, and of course has the practical function of keeping you warm. Yeah, and also if you want to pick up some tips, Mike, maybe some ways to think about dressing. If you are a guy and you're thinking it would be, it's a bit of a special occasion. There's a sort of an atmosphere at the Hennessy. Of course, this year they're running these masterclasses. If you're in the Premier enclosure, you can pop along to the drawing room and you can listen to the guys from Regent Tailoring, which is a lovely independent business in Salisbury. They'll be giving some tips on how to dress properly in a suit, and also what you can do with the finer details. So, which buttons you're meant to do up, and how to tie your tie properly and things like that. So maybe think about popping along to pick up some tips.
That's right, yes, so it's good. Which button to leave open on the waistcoat and which one not. And people look down their nose and go, I say, old boy, you've got the wrong button undone. Oh, no, never do.
Exactly.
But the racing fraternity do, you see, they are up for the old titfers, as they say. They do wear the hats. It is a racing fraternity thing, isn't it, hats in a way? Oh,
very much so. It's completely synonymous with the sport, and a wonderful display of creativity and intrigue. So even though it's a bit more, practical dressing is perhaps more in order, you will see still some beautiful hats. Last year we saw Liz Hurley in a bright purple, which is quite eye-catching. So there's still the opportunity to. I think
if I were going, I'd wear my cord suit because it's a warmer suit than the others, and cord is very acceptable at something like this. A pair of brogues and a nice club tie, and I think I'd be okay. But no hat, probably. If you've got a lot of hair, it tends to stick out of the side, and you look a bit like Wurzel Gummidge, and it ruins the effect.
Like John McCririck.
Well, not exactly like John McCririck, I hope. No, more like George Clooney, I think. Anyway,
my bad, Mike. My bad.
Or was it Rosemary Clooney? Anyway, Rachel, brilliant. Thank you very much. I hope we see a lot of people wearing your hats at the Hennessy.
Yeah, me too, Mike.
Okay, thanks, Rachel. Bye-bye.
Bye.